Making the decision to get sober, definitely one of the hardest, bravest things that you will ever do. And if you're anything like me, you probably tried before over and over more times than you can count. And that goes for other areas of recovery, whether it's facing the demons of your past, dealing with trauma in the past. I hear you. Why is change so hard? Why do we keep falling into the same patterns? We're going to dive into that critical step, the decision to change. Nothing happens until we decide to change. We'll talk about why we resist admitting we need help, why surrender feels impossible, how fear and doubt keep us stuck. And trust me, I get it. I spent years trying to get sober on my own. And then I did the super fun, just me and God routine, right? Because I was too ashamed to ask for help. So if you ever felt that way, stick with me, because the truth is you can do this and you don't have to do it alone. Welcome to this series, Overcoming Challenges in Early Recovery, Part 1, Surrendering to God in Early Sobriety. So if you're on the journey to recovery, I've been there. I know how overwhelming it can be at first. I also know that real freedom is possible through God's grace and through your decision to change. Step 1 is admitting we need help, acknowledging the problem. We call it the powerlessness dilemma. We admitted we were powerless over our addiction, whatever it is, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 1 in the 12 steps. So the word powerless is hard. Most of us don't want to believe that we're powerless over anything, whether it's addiction, early trauma. We want to stay in control. If we can be in control of everything, we feel as if that dissipates the fear. But we just continue stuffing the issues. We may be convinced ourselves, if I try harder, if I pray more, if I have more willpower, I can fix myself. So I've been sober, by the way, almost 20 years. My husband, 23 years. When he was trying to get sober, he grew up in the church. And so it was just like, pray more. Why can't you just quit? Why isn't Jesus enough? For me, no matter how hard I fought it, I kept losing, because addiction is something that you can't beat through sheer discipline, through white knuckling it. If that were the case, none of us would be struggling. If love were enough to save us, none of us would be struggling, right? Addiction has its own trajectory. It rewires our brain. It hijacks the reward circuitry in the brain. That's just one piece of it. Then we get into the physical and the genetics and the withdrawals. In our brain, the reward circuitry is basically things like food, like sex, like water, anything that releases those feel-good endorphins. The feel-good endorphins are the things that keep us alive. Dopamine is motivation. So without that, I could want alcohol, but I'd be too lazy to go get it, right? So it hijacks all of this area. So people that are massively addicted, in their mind, they actually think they're going to die. It becomes like food and water. What ends up happening is it becomes its own entity, more powerful than us. But nothing's more powerful than God. And then let's not forget the enemy. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He likes to hook us young. This is why surrender is so huge, because all this stuff, this pain, becomes bigger than us. Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. We lean on our own understanding, thinking that we can handle this, but our best thinking is what got us here in the first place. So the first step back to freedom is admitting, God, I can't do this on my own. So, back to step 1, admitted we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. What is unmanageability? Here's an example of unmanageability. When I would drink, I would drive like this, and I would drive like this so that I wouldn't see double when I was drinking and driving. Right. And I thought that was really cool. That's unmanageability. Missing work. That's unmanageability. Hiding booze, hiding drugs, all these things that interfere with our life. That is unmanageability, things that we keep trying to fix on our own, but we can't. So step 2, surrendering. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. If you already believe in God, this might be like, oh yeah, I get it. This is a relief. But for many people, especially if you have maybe been hurt by religion, maybe you didn't grow up in the church, maybe you had early trauma and you don't trust anyone. This is quite common because if the people that were supposed to love you weren't there, they harmed you, what do? You take matters into your own hands. You try to control everything. If dad was a raging alcoholic, you learn to tiptoe around that. You learn to manipulate people, places, and things to survive. And then you get older, right? You try to get sober. And then it's, oh, you're powerless over a God who loves you. And you're like, yeah, right. Right. He loves me just like my dad. He loves you like a good father. He is the good father, and he wants only what's best for you. But this is a hard part. And I completely understand. I had no concept of God when I was drinking and using. And then when I finally did become a Christian, I still drank alcoholically for years, and I was actually doing afternoon drive for the Fish Christian music station. And many of you probably remember that. I was there for 17 years. Well, for the first several years, I was getting wasted, like drunk the night before, drinking and driving, and then going on the radio, hallelujah, right? And I wasn't drinking coffee. Well, I was drinking coffee the next day, playing all those Christian tunes, feeling like a hypocrite. But you know what? God was with me the whole time. God blessed me with that job. God moved me forward anyway. But it was always there, that feeling of, I have got to get it together. I've got to get it together. I can't do this. I'm a hypocrite, you know? And so finally, when I did get sober, I went into AA because I thought, well, I can't go into the church with this problem. That's what so many of us think. I got to clean myself up before I go into the church. So Romans 5:8, God demonstrates his own love for us, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. What does that mean? It means you don't have to fix yourself before coming to Christ. That is not possible. You don't have to have it figured out before coming to Christ, because that is not possible. You don't have to have it all together, because that is not possible. In this world, you will have trouble, God said, but take heart. I have overcome the world. What you have to do is be willing to trust that God is bigger than your problems. God is bigger than your addictions. And if you believe in God and that he created the heavens and the earth, I think it's quite easy to say that he can figure this out. God, I give you my junk. I give it to you in exchange for your glory, for your plan. See, when I was running the show, I was getting drunk and blacking out, driving drunk. Towards the end, I'm popping Xanax with the alcohol. This was before I got my MS in addiction counseling. No idea how dangerous that was. That's alcohol and benzos that can stop your breathing and kill you. Some people don't get the second chance, you know? We've all known people like my brother that have passed away from addiction. It's not going to get better. It doesn't ever get better. Let that sink in. Runs its own trajectory, and it will only get worse. Okay, so if you're struggling to believe that God is bigger than your addiction, listen, faith isn't about having all the answers. You don't have to be ready. Who's ever ready to be ready for anything big? What they say in recovery is believe that we believe. Or I love the scripture, Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief. So it's just about being open to the possibility that God wants to help you, rescue you. He's for you. He's not against you. He's not a bad father. He's not a narcissistic parent. He's for you. He doesn't have hidden agendas. He's pure love. He's agape love. He's the kind of love we don't understand because we cannot feel that kind of love. As much love as we have for our kids, it's his love is so much greater. Jesus says, I am the vine, my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will become even more fruitful. So when we surrender to God, he prunes away the junk. And he says, apart from me, you can do nothing, right? Remain in me, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So step 3 is we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. That sounds simple, but surrender is one of the hardest things we'll ever do. What if God changes our plans? What if he sends us to a foreign country and, makes us become missionaries or something like that, which he could do. But let me tell you what, God's plan for your life is going to be better than what you could ever imagine or what you were doing in your own strength. But this can be hard. I can remember years after I got sober, going through 7 years of craziness with my brother's death, with betrayal, with problems in my job, to the point where I resigned, walked away. I was curled up basically in like a fetal position on the floor. And I was ready to take my own life practically. And I felt the Lord say, just sit through it. Kind of imagine yourself, on the floor there, dead, right? And just sit through the pain. And once I worked through those emotions, I was through it. So that was pretty cool. But here's the thing. And I felt like he showed me, that is you dead on the floor. That is you dead. I'm tearing away all of that stuff. All the need for approval, all the need for addiction, all the need for anything until it was just me and God. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, you're not a vending machine. No matter what happens, if you don't do another thing for me, we're good. We're good. And when you can get to that point, it's really freeing, because deep down for me, the addiction was caused by the fear, the codependency issues, the need for approval, thinking everyone would know who I really was if they saw the real me. Because I'm dyslexic, they'd think I was stupid. The platform having to always be perfect on the radio and everything because somebody might see who I really was. All that stuff had to be torn away. And I always say it was like taking a needle from a junkie, because that was deep down the root of the addiction, the false front, the false self, the false me, the one that was dead on the floor, Then he raises us back to life as someone new. And let me tell you, this happened, 20 years after I got saved? So again, it's a process. But listen, in Matthew, Jesus says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. I will give you rest. Take my yoke. I'm gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. He didn't say, get yourself together first, then come to me. He said, I didn't come for the righteous, but for the sick. I came for the sick. The righteous don't need a doctor. And Jesus is God, if you understand the Trinity. That's what God said. I came for you. Because if you were righteous, I didn't come for you the first time. I didn't come because you don't need a doctor. Wow, let that sink in. So finding accountability, finding support. This is huge. When I first got sober, I got a sponsor. I would highly recommend that. But I had to call every day and do this daily sobriety renewal. They made me get up early and I had to call in. This was before morning drive. I was doing afternoons. So it was like, you're kidding. You want me to get up that early? But it was very, very, very helpful. So we need that at the beginning. So surrendering to God definitely doesn't mean doing it alone. Because trust me, I wanted to do this alone. I'm like, okay, God, just you and me. I don't want to go to those meetings. I don't want to call and ask for help. I don't want to do that stuff. And then there was the thing, which you can watch the video on YouTube, where I tried to throw away all my heavy metal CDs and cassettes. And I was like, okay, God, here's the deal. I'll throw all this, dark devil music. I was listening to Danzig, devil stuff. I'm like, I'll throw it all away. And then you strike me sober. And that was my deal, not his. And so I did all of that. And I was drunk the next day. And then I didn't have any of my music.
I mean, really?
Sometimes I still miss some of it. Definitely not Danzig. Okay, I digress. But so God, as most of you know, if you're Christians, he works through community, he works through other people. And one of the biggest lies I believed, right, was that I could do this alone, that it could be me and God, that I had to fix myself. And that's not to say that wonderful things don't happen between you and God, but he's going to make you reach out. He's going to make you talk with other people about it. He's going to make you get accountability from other people. And it may sound scary at first, but you're going to love it. You're going to love the journey. And by the way, if he just struck you sober like that, what kind of a story would you have anyway? Because part of this journey is that we help other people through their challenges. So we need people who will walk alongside us, pray with us, hold us accountable. And so how do we do this? You can connect with your church and see if they have Celebrate Recovery. What I did, I was in Sacramento. I literally picked up the phone and I called the Alcoholics Anonymous headquarters. I found a meeting in downtown Sacramento and I went. It was my first meeting and it was weird. I got to be honest, it wasn't the right meeting for me. It's okay. Then I got the little booklet, was able to find all these other meetings, and finally connected with one that I really liked and a sponsor and all that stuff. So just start. If you mention in the comment sections that you want my early sobriety guide or resources guide, I've got things that I can send you as far as finding meetings, who to call, things like that. Just start somewhere. And there's plenty of help out there. You may need to go to a treatment center and get an assessment because you may need to have detox, because withdrawal is a whole nother thing. And we're going to talk about that next week. But if you're in extreme withdrawal, like stuff that my brother went through, you can have seizures. Alcohol detox is the only withdrawal that can actually kill you. That's why a lot of times with alcoholics, you have to actually give them alcohol or give them a tranquilizer so they don't seizure out. Very common. We had to do that with my brother all the time. So you may need to get into a detox center. Do it. Just Google detox centers and it's going to come up wherever you are. You don't have to be ready, and then ask God to bring about the right people in your life. And when he does, be willing to receive help. One of the biggest things, and I've had the Genuine Life Recovery podcast, which is also on YouTube, so many guests, probably like 100 people on. And the ones that are sober generally say, I finally got sober and it finally clicked when I was willing to listen, when I didn't have all my own answers, and when I was willing to take suggestions. So be willing to submit to God and listen to others. Those two things. Humility is what it takes to admit that we are powerless. We are not helpless, but we are often powerless. There's a difference. We're never helpless because God is all-powerful. But a lot of times we have things that are too big for ourselves. No matter who you are, you're not helpless. And this takes courage to trust God. It takes faith to surrender. If you're willing to take that first step, friends, do it. God is waiting. He wants to help you. There are many people here that want to help you. Love to hear from you in the comments section. What's been the biggest challenge, the hardest part of your recovery journey? Make sure you subscribe. Don't miss the next episode. We're going to talk about withdrawal, temptation, how to stay strong when cravings hit. And remember that you don't have to be perfect to start. You just have to be willing. God bless you, friends.